y'all for coming. We are going to only be here till 2:45, 3 o'clock. And we wanted to present this concept, this conversation, this community building project to you all. I'm first going to introduce the idea generator of this, Kent Ruffin. He's the director of Enterprise Virginia. And Enterprise Virginia is a company that teaches business literacy, I'm going to read it, and the mechanics of operating an enterprise in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And one of their main focuses is to go into the schools, especially schools that serve the underserved population, and teach entrepreneurship literacy to those students. And he's in the marketing field, so you see how that's meshing together. So he teaches them on that as well. If you don't know me, I'm Ayanna McMullen. I have been brought on to help manage this project. My business is Harmony Organizing. I'm the owner of that, so I'm an organizing consultant and productivity coach. Okay, so this is our journey today that we'll be talking about on Who Will Own Your Story. Artist, say hello. Hello. About Enterprise Virginia. And the purpose of this conversation is to center our thoughts on community wealth building and storytelling through the media, especially as it pertains to communities of color. And we're going to give you a little background information about how this project came about, our current challenge, the solution that we're presenting, and the project that we have piloted at Virginia State University. Then we'll open it up for conversation. So this is our current challenge in our communities. One is technology. As you know, we're all moving into the digital age, right? If you don't know technology, you're kind of behind the ball, because that's where information is being shared the most. That's how we communicate the most. That's how we tell our stories the most. So those who are familiar with technology and the digital revolution, and those who are not. Now, a lot of times in our communities, we don't have access to the technology that we need to be on top of the game, right? With the current trends of society. Invasion of the digital age or the digital world, it exists within every aspect of our daily lives, yet we have less control and understanding of those changes occurring around us. I mean, there's a huge literacy gap even between my generation and my mom's generation, right? Because I feel like, why don't you know this? If you haven't kept up with it, you're not going to know it. And she's just creating a mess on her phone, I just want to let y'all know. Because she's not digitally savvy, right? So I'm working with her. And shifting roles into the economy. As more companies undergo digital transformations, the focus on the workforce will consist of, as you know, AI, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and the internet. And those are just forms of technology that we are dealing with in this digital age. I know I used to work at the YMCA in the James Center building as a membership coordinator. When I first started, they had students in the parking deck booth. They were like VCU students, and they would get your ticket, you pay for your ticket. About 2 years in, that all changed. It all became automatized. It was all technology. So I'm thinking, what happened to those students? I mean, you know, students need money. And they just got rid of these people in these booths for technology. And that's the age that we're going in. Our next challenge is the generational wealth gap. I know you guys have heard this before. What is generational wealth? It's financial assets that are passed on and built upon with each generation within a family. Foundation for opportunities and access to better education, health, and jobs. And you guys feel free to chime in as I'm talking if you like, or ask a question. And it's important for our future financial security. Hello, gentleman back there. Nice to meet you. And lady back there. Hi. So those are two challenges, technology and the generational wealth gap. Oops, sorry, I skipped ahead. In 2016, African Americans had an annual spending power of 1.3 trillion, huge. But our average house, or our median household income in our household was $12,900. That's a huge gap. By 2053, the median wealth for African American families will fall to zero if the gap continues to widen at its current pace. And I'm sure you guys have heard buzz that the gap is getting bigger, right? There's not going to be a middle class anymore. It's just going to be those who have and those who have not. The median wealth for white Americans is 12 times higher than that of African Americans at around $143,600. Isn't that ridiculous? That's what we're dealing with. That's our challenge. Within the past 30 years, white families' wealth has grown 3 times that of an African American's family. Phew. This wealth gap continues to grow and widen with each generation. So this is a solution that has worked. This is a solution that we're implementing in the program that we will present to you. And it's called Building Wealth Through Entrepreneurship and Technology. And I love this quote. It's by Rodney Sampson. He's the co-founder of the Opportunity Hub. And shoot, I know it. It's on the tip of my tongue. In Atlanta, Georgia, right? And what he's done is he's leveraging technology to close the generational wealth gap among people of color. Although these constructs, he's talking about the wealth constructs, remain today African Americans through exposure, knowledge, and access to work, entrepreneurship, and investment opportunities in the innovation economy, have the greatest opportunity to create new multi-generational wealth with no reliance on pre-existing multi-generational wealth. I think that's dope. So technology helps us bypass how wealth has been created traditionally within the societal structure so that we can create it for our communities. I mean, look at these YouTubers, y'all. They making millions of dollars just off having a YouTube channel with no pre-existing condition for having generational wealth. But they know how to leverage technology and use the media and to share their stories. So the innovation workspace is the digital media workspace. And you know, we're talking about web design, content marketing, online sales, mobile marketing, social media marketing, email. All of this is tied into our everyday lives, right? And we need to know how to leverage it. And all of it is tied into storytelling because they're selling us an idea all the time about how we should live our lives, build our lives. But who's actually generating these ideas? It's not our stories because we don't have the economic power to dictate what is being fed to us on a consistent basis. Now, on a small level, we do because we do have access to social media, right? You know, we got an Instagram channel. We can have some influence, but on a larger scale, we do not have that economic power. So the project, I hope I didn't skip one, let me make sure, sorry. Oh yeah, I'm right. So the project that was piloted at Virginia State University was called the Media Production Enterprise, right? And what is this program about? Look, I ain't got no PowerPoint skills here. Okay. It's a college-level workforce enrichment program. It operates as a full-service traditional social and digital marketing provider. It provides college students from underserved communities with training and professional skills while gaining real-world career experience. So we did a pilot program in 2019, and the goal is to continue this at Virginia State and other Black colleges and universities. It runs year-round, just so you have a little foundation of how it does. So our goal is to operate as a full production company. So as they come in the level of their class, they're either an assistant, associate, or supervisor, or manager. So they stay there all 4 years, which is awesome sauce. And they are ready to attract the jobs that they want. I mean, people know you got the skills, it comes to you. You don't necessarily have to look as hard. Each year, 20 scholarships will be awarded. The program reaching full participation in the 4th year of its operation. Because we're going to start with the freshman class, then we'll get the sophomore, you know, it builds. And by the 4th year, we'll have all levels within this enterprise. Each scholarship award is $40,000. That's what we're working for. So to continue the future of this, we want to continue this conversation about who will own our stories. And so we're projected to open, there's a glare on here, in the fall of 2021, and to open in other HBCUs in the fall of 2023. Now I'm going to ask Kent, because not only is this a conversation about this project that we're doing, but this is a larger conversation for the community, right? About building generational wealth, tying it in with technology and storytelling so that our stories can be told, but also we can profit off of it. So I'm going to ask Kent to talk a little bit more about the storytelling piece.
Well, the who will own your story. It really is you. No one knows your story better than you. And that story is just not your story. Because like everything else, you come from someone, some generational movement through time. So what's occurring today is we're going from what is known as the bricks and mortar. Do we understand what bricks and mortar is?
The building.
Bricks and mortar?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going from bricks and mortar, which are limited. The space in the bricks and mortar reality is limited to the physical realm that we have in front of us. But they have done something very interesting. They have taken the bricks and mortar and moved it to the digital. And in the digital environment, it's like a gold rush, because it's unlimited space, unlimited opportunities, if you know how to utilize it. And what's very important in the digital world is what we call content. Does everybody understand what I mean by content? Okay. Content and story are essentially the same thing.
Right.
Okay? So your story is really money. Money that has not been monetized. Okay? Your story is money that has not been monetized. Okay? So we have to deal with this word called story. What does it relate to? How do we come to having a story? Okay? And I could do something real fancy and say, we can take story and I can put H-I in front of it, and what does that become?
History.
Which is your story. So we're going to say high story. Okay? So I'll put a little hyphen in here so you'll know that the hyphen represents a journey. So from the high, the journey, and the journey then becomes your story. So when we talk about stories, there's an introduction, there's a body, and then there's a conclusion, right? Isn't that how the setup is? Okay. I'm going to flip the script and say your story really comes down to 4 central themes, my definition, and I'm going to introduce you to those. Culture. You're born into a culture. You come down to shoot, mom and dad are there, or someone's there, and you're stuck. You don't know anything, and the first thing you do is look for someone who does what? Smiles at you, right? First thing you do is smile. And when you smile and the baby smiles back at you, we're together. So whatever culture or whatever mindset or whatever it is that you know now begins to be transmitted to that young person. So you're essentially born into a culture. So if you were born in China, you'd kind of have a Chinese culture, and that may be Buddhist, and that be Taoist, and all that. If you're born into Europe, you might be Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, so on and so on. So each of these, as a culture, is like a starting point, or like a foundation, your initial base. You're given health. When you're born, you're either healthy, unhealthy, whatever, but that's what you got. Okay? Education is the acquisition of knowledge in an organized fashion. Okay? You can learn, but that's not education. Education is learning through an organized system. Someone says, dot, 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 stand on the board, you learn that, they're educating. And last but not least is wealth. And wealth is the application of education through your skills to earn money. This is the monetization function. So we all have those attributes, we have all those possibilities. The question is, the other fancy word that I like to see all the time is how. Yes, you. What are the other ones that come underneath this one?
You could probably put when,
Ah, there we go. What else?
where,
Oh, I must have hit the jackpot with you while we were talking. Go on. Huh, somebody knows, yes sir. Yeah. What else? What? Oh yes. And what's the last magic one?
When? Do we have when?
You got when?
Oh.
What's the last magic one? That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. All these are what we call positional. Right? The established position. Who you are, what are you going to do, where you're going to do it, what you're going to do, and why you do it. Does that make sense? Okay. But how is the recipe? How tells you, how defines methodology? I know you're looking at me and saying, when are we going to get to the money? That's the how. But if you can't answer all these other questions, all these positional questions, you're stuck. And that's where this fancy word, history, comes in. Because this is the one thing that you have instantaneously when you arrive on the planet. You have a history. You got a mother, you got a father, and all of the things that they did, that's given to you, right? They give you a name, they give you a birth certificate, they give you all those things, and from there you can go. You have the choice of going back, finding what your ancestors did, what your contemporaries have done, which is today, and you can determine what you're going to do into the future. How do you progress into the future? And in order to progress into the future, you've got to kind of establish a relationship between the education, that which you have learned, the skills that you have learned, and generation of wealth. And everybody asks the question, well, how do I do that? Well, in the digital age, all you need to do is have what?
A story.
A story to put up where? Under what name? Right. So theoretically, you could do something fancy like this. Me, and in my case is Kent, at whatever, right? Or I could do it says Kent .com. And what this says is that in the world called digital, you have a domain which you can operate and store your information. And you can have people here, this being the email, you can have people who can communicate with you which will go into this domain area. So this allows you to create a position in the digital arena. This is your URL, this is your email, this is your name. So once you do this, this would be analogous to printing, you know, they call them dollar bills. And what do they have? How do they print the dollar bills? Don't look at me like that. You got the answers. You get an engraving plate, right? You ink them and you print them, right?
Yeah.
Right there. This is your money. This is your engraving plate. Right? And once you've got an engraving plate, anybody who accepts your money, you can now transact business, goods, and services. In other words, in your domain, you can list all the things that you consider valuable. And anybody who knows you can come and see the values. And if they want to transact business with you, what do you say? Well, yes, in my world, you can use my money, but because you're outside of my world and you communicate with other people, we have to have a common currency. And a common currency is what? PayPal, Snap, yada, 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 yada. MasterCard, Visa, all right, just in case I'm moving shells around too fast. Does that make sense? Okay? So, I can wipe all this away. And if I put up here hip hop, rap, would that make sense to you? If I put NFL, NBA, NBL, does that make sense to you? If I put up art, music, economics, food, restaurant, does that also make sense to you? So you're not as far away from making money. It's really a mindset. So if you turn yourself differently and look at it from this standpoint, then all of a sudden it makes, wait a minute, I think you said this, it makes this, right? That's what you said.
Dollars and cents.
Okay, good on. Right? It connects directly back to your story. Because I know you understand who this person is. It's called Disney. Does that make sense to you? And all Disney did was do this. He made a mouse and got wealthy. Made the mouse move and got Hampton Bunny. Because Disney said, I gotta have hotels. I have to have amusement parks. I have to have television. I have to have radio. I have to do this and do this and do this. He set up a whole entire world on this thing called DINSEY.com. Wait a minute. If I'm not mistaken, that looks like this. Yes? No? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does it really make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So your limitation is only to the extent that you're willing to create this fancy word. Does that make sense? If you can create value, then you can inherit Disney. If you cannot create value, you cannot get to Disney. Does that make sense? Come on, Harris, you gotta break that smile. You gotta break that smile. Because you can't sit there and look like you're stuck in space someplace. Have I lost anybody? Have I confused anybody? Now the question is, where do you see yourself in this discussion? Where's the how? Where is your recipe? How do you define your recipe? That gets back up to, see, the how really relates to your history. Right? Good brother, I see you, I know you copy and translate everything and put it in that book, don't you? Yeah. So you're halfway to that. Now the question becomes is, can you take all that you've taken and put into the book and turn it into value that you can offer to someone else in your world? Okay, what do you do? I mean, I'm just generally, I'm not asking you because I want to know your business.
That's okay. I'm an artist.
So you would, so the force gave you insight.
Yes.
Okay. So could you share some of your insight with us?
Concerning art?
Whatever you're the boss. your lips. You have to tell us all, because there are only what? There are only 7, 8 people here, so it ain't like you got a big stage. So you can feel free. We're kind of welcoming. We're in conversation.
I take dreams and make them to reality.
We all do. But what kind of dreams do you have?
Art dreams. I take my visions, I produce them, I construct them, and I turn them to reality.
Okay. In what form do you do it? Do you do it in written form? Do you do it in visual form?
Visual form.
Do you do it, so you do photography? Do you do drawing? Do you draw?
Yeah, I do photography, I paint, I do murals.
You do murals? Oh, that's a big time storyteller.
Yeah, I like that. Sure.
Well, let me ask you this. If I took you and transported you to the pyramids in Giza, and I showed you a long wall, what would that be?
How are we living?
No, it'd be a mural.
Yeah.
Right. Right, this way. Right. But you'd have to also translate all of the smaller murals. Smaller murals. A is a small mural. B is a small mural. C is a small mural. What they do is what we call symbolic logic. We take symbols and we organize them in such a way that they create pictures in our mind, and we ascribe to them the name words. Am I confusing anybody? Does that make sense? Okay. So if I told you that all of this that I've done is called math, all that is math. All this is math. And what is math? Math is count and measure. That's all it is. You count how many of these you got and measurement. That's it. So all this complicated stuff that we're dealing with, and what I'm trying to get you to do, is to take all this understanding, come back over here into your story, put your story to paper, or record it in some form, bring it into your printing press where you have your plate or your domain, and use it as a means to generate dollars. This is your means by which you translate your story into meaningful dollars and cents. Now, we all have that capacity. Everybody. The question is, are we willing to devote the time to it in order to realize the value? And are we willing to collaborate with each other for skills that I don't have, so that I can go to wealth? Because the lack of collaboration does two things. We lose skills and we destroy wealth. The lack of collaboration destroys skills, okay, and causes wealth to go away. So when people say, I don't have, I'm not capable, I don't have, I need, I want, so on and so on and so on, we have to change their mindset and get them to understand this. Everyone has a high story. Now the question is, are you going to put that story down in a form which someone else can access it, where you can share it with someone else, on and on and on and on. So, I've done all the talking. Now I'm ready for conversation.
Does anyone have any questions or thoughts about what was presented? Or input they'd like to have or share?
I can see that calculator moving.
Why you keep standing over here?
Because I can see. Look, you got family next to you. See,
Okay.
you have family next to you, and you're taking it in, and I can see you moving the pieces around. Yeah. So if you talk about it, then I can sit down and listen to you for a change.
So do you have a question? Or you formulating one?
I'm formulating.
Okay.
See, she gives you the exit. She gives you the exit.
And we do have a question on the table while you formulate.
Yeah.
So it was 20 students at $40,000. Was that each, or was that total for the 20 to split?
It's a 4-year program.
Right.
10, 10, 10.
It's for each student.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
For
for each
their
student.
4 years, so you get 10,000.
Right. And how that is allocated, 5 is given to the student in the form of a weekly stipend, $100. And they have to, like everything else, they have to qualify for that payment. On time, do assignments, and above all, do what? Stay in school. Right? So you're incentivizing it. Yes, ma'am.
So are they creating a story for themselves or creating a story from, like if I want to create a story, they can take on my project?
Yes.
See what I said? High story. It can be mine. It can be anybody.
Right.
So they get content anyway.
Because they'll be operating as a production company.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So how do people back
You know why I want to talk to you.
Once we launch, we're working on doing a website, things like that, and bringing on people that can, I'm not sure how the application process will go, but yes, companies can find them and they'll assess and they'll
Yes.
take on your project.
So I can apply to them to do my story?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why not?
Yes.
Why not? Years ago, the first thing that we ever had, you see that thing on your desk, raise it up. Raise it up high. Oh, where? No, not the paper, that, put it up high. That is the first technology the man discovered. No, the stick. Isn't that right? First technology man discovered was the stick. He beat you with it, or he would write. Right? Because he smacked you a couple times in the hand and said, this ain't gonna work. I gotta get something else. He picked up the stick. And he whacked you over the head and said, hey, this works. What else can I do this thing? Say, your first technology is that. Your last technology is this. But it's the same technology. But you have to see it in the same way. You cannot just see this as a device of convenience. This is a printing press. This is a printing press. And what's so wonderful about it is they got Facebook that's connected with everybody else in the world. So if you put it up on Facebook and you spend $3 and $4, you can get to the rest of the world.
Does anyone else have any other questions?
Am I confusing you?
I think he had something else.
I'm still formulated, but when I thought about the name Who Would Tell Your Story, I realized the value in that because there's so many people telling other people's stories, telling our story.
Right.
And as I'm a muralist around the city, I have 35 murals in the city, 38 actually, 39, right?
That's right.
And living on 2nd Street, William Jackson Ward, most of the murals are granted are in mine. And I'm painting outside, and there's tour groups coming by. And they're charging $50 per person showing my mural, or the mural that I painted, which is like how we on Prison Walls for viewing everybody's out. But they capitalize on making money off of this story. And of course I tell my story in video, documentation, like you say, the internet, Facebook. But when you find people come outside of us in our town to tell our story, teaching your kids, but able to get the funding to teach your kids, and he who owns the story,
Go back up to that.
right, he who tells the story owns the story.
$1.3 trillion.
And as our town slowly changes, the story is changing itself. Are we going to own our story? It's hard to see at this point. But right now is at the point where if you don't tell your story, somebody else is.
Right.
You can't control and tell your history, somebody else is. And what they tell might not be what you like. But I've noticed that when they're going by, you can call the company and say, well, hey, my name is Sir James Thornhill. I noticed you guys are showing a mural, on murals I painted, my team and I. But you're not, are you talking about me? Are you giving me credit? How much are you charging? Because you look at the murals, you do Jackson Ward Tour, and then you go to Mama and tell you can charge the whole package. I can get nothing out of the deal. So, no, I'm going there. You can't raise your hand now.
No, I'm just doing this one. You asked me where the money's coming from.
Yeah.
Okay? If you're always a consumer and never a producer,
That's right.
you will always consume. And see, we produced. We were first producers. We were trained to become consumers, and we got stuck. Let me say it again. We were producers who were trained to become consumers, and we got stuck. So that's why we represent this. And this 1.3 trillion is pure profit to any producer, because their community is break even, ours is profit. Does that make sense? Okay. Your situation is as follows. You're operating in the bricks and mortar world. The people who are coming by and taking out their cameras are in the digital world. So once they capture your creativity in the bricks and mortar world, they take it and they monetize it by putting it underneath their name.
Thank you,
Right. So if I say to you, you are a part of the NFL, you're a running back, and the owner of the team is making money, you're making a living. Does that make sense?
To a small degree, it makes sense. In a sense where I make money from what I do.
Yes.
Each mural has a command,
Right.
and we're making money from it. You can't, which is called intellectual properties, and the public is allowed to see it.
Mm-hmm.
When you go past that, it is a whole nother thing. But still, implementing classes about the murals. I do tours about the murals. I sell memorabilia about the murals. I advise the community about the murals. It's historical preservation, education opportunities. However, it still doesn't feel good to me that people are coming by and making money, even though I am making money. But the fact of it is that, again, who would tell your story? They're still doing, the same thing still exists, like you say. They're coming by. I believe, I love that concept, NFL and the other guys. But we still have to continue to tell our story, reap the benefits financially where we can. And that situation with people coming by, that's going to happen. But to create tour groups behind that, because that's what we're doing. We're creating tour groups as well. That's going to do the same thing and make money off of it, just as they're doing. Yes, you can have a person now.
You want me to deal with your intellectual property?
Sure, go
Okay.
ahead.
First and foremost, your intellectual property is like having a diamond in the middle of the street, and they call it, what do they call it? I think in Hollywood, there's a walk of fame. And they got a diamond in the person's name and a footprint. Yes?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you know that there is a correlation between the number of tourism people that go through the tourism slot and the royalties that are paid because this exists?
Mm-hmm.
Who owns this?
Who owns the Stars in the Street?
Yeah.
Good question, who owns it?
Well, there's the Academy of Arts and Sciences, which they call the Emmys, and the Oscars. That's how they derive their income. Off the intellectual property of putting that stuff down on the ground, and the city pays them a fee.
Wow. That's smart.
What? Say what?
She said that's smart.
See, that is the monetization of your value.
Yeah.
See, because it's not your responsibility to keep track of the people who take the picture. You got to say to the city, I'm value added to you. You tell me how many people come into the city as tourism, because you classified them and charge them 2%, 3%, 4%, 10%, whatever the percentage is. Because they do come to Jackson Ward. And they come in other places. And this city is now becoming a mural city. Uh-oh, but when did they call you up and say, African American man, we're getting ready to put a consortium together where we're going to get you paid? Ain't no conversation like that. But we have the conversation. We just had the conversation, didn't we now? So, ain't like, go back over here. your domain. But what did I say? What did I say before? Education and wealth. If you fail here and fail here, it disappears. And nobody, and see, we're not educated in the art of making money. We're in the education ability of doing this, giving it to somebody else, but not saying, give it to me. You have to get into the business of saying, give it to me. Because I have created what?
Value. I would like to also hear from Chuck Mike, if you will, and if you could share what you do in the story taking and with the storytelling.
I'm a theater director and also write. So this process is quite familiar to me. All right. We take an idea, and I do dominantly black theater, and we take the idea, we use our history, we use our culture, we use the stories of our people to create a script. That script is now reenacted. As a director, I'm using animate and inanimate materials, that is the actors, costumes, props, lights, set, etc., to produce a production. That production is then staged in the educational circle, because I teach at the University of Richmond. It stops there. I also have a company in the UK, it's called Collective Artists. What we do is that we also take those plays and we tour with them. We negotiate with buildings, people who run buildings, and that's where our pitfall is. We don't own the buildings. Neither do we run the buildings. Very, 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 very few of us have that facility, right? We negotiate with buildings, they develop an audience, and we also participate in that audience development. Audiences come, and that's where wealth is generated. So I think one of the things that I'm consistently conscious of is creating a qualitative product. A product that suits my sensibilities, but also my artistic integrity, and a product that has mass appeal, right? Something that we know will also sell. So we're straddling that fence where we want to retain our own integrity and at the same time be able to have the kind of appeal that makes it marketable. That's essentially what I do.
Fancy word I'm going to apply to. He's a producer, not a consumer. Okay? And each of you in this room are producers. The problem is that you produce it and you leave it home. And then you go out and you sell your bodies. Someone pays you, and then you become a consumer. Versus going here, because see, now everybody is a business. What they call the gig economy, everybody is a business. You know, no longer do you have the magic platform underneath you that says, if you come to work every day, I will give you 45 cents to put into a retirement fund for you or anything. No, 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 no. They say you can put it into a 501k or whatever. You got to manage your own money. You got to pay your own bills. You got to. So all of a sudden, they've taken this big thing where they've gotten rich on, called business, and said, over here, these are the ones that got the big business and made plenty of money. We're gonna make everybody a business, those small businesses. So we can offload the responsibility for those people who come in every morning and do the work. We're gonna offload that. Make them individual businesses and make them cover their retirement, make them cover their food, make them cover everything, and still sell them a product and make money off of it. Okay, so the MPE program is really a DIY program. It's a do-it-yourself program. Because what we do is we teach you production skills. How to write your story, how to make your story interesting. It's like a craft. When you first put your first pen to paper, were you totally an artist all to the degree that you are now?
No.
You had to,
It grow.
that's right, perfect your skills. And so the MPE program is designed to allow young individuals, college-educated individuals, the opportunity to perfect their craft, but at the same time to gain knowledge about soft skills. You know what soft skills are?
You said college students, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
college-age students.
College age students.
Right.
So anybody that's not college age wouldn't qualify for this?
Not for the scholarship program,
Okay, got you.
because you have to be in college, and and the reason being,
But I think what he's saying is, if you have organizational company like you have Sir James Thornhill Global Arts Initiative, if you apply to that internship program as a business that they want to take a project on, they will do that.
right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
That's all right. Thank you.
And we okay, so to answer two questions at the same time. Why did we choose college students as our point of interception? Okay, and I'm gonna answer that. I got to go back over here for a split second. There is this timeline, and this is K through 12, and then everything else, right? To intercept what we call the public school system here, it's a tricky business, because it's got an institutionalized mechanism that does not allow for external entities to come directly into it. And also, this is a very big challenge for us at today's level, because we're trying to more quickly monetize. So we try to get individuals who are reasonably immersed in our culture, whether it be the outer culture or inner culture. They have some skill sets. We can talk very quickly because they've learned, we can move them faster.
Makes sense.
Okay? But look at it this way. That's why I need another chart. There are, I'll do it the other way. There are grandmothers, no, they're great-grandmothers, grandmothers, parents, you, your sons and daughters, your grandkids, all the way down. Each of those is a segmentation of the population. Does that make sense? Okay? The point of the fulcrum, where the balance comes down, is right here. Is when you transition from K to 12 and you go into the high school, beyond high school, that is the fulcrum. Everything before that, you're acquiring, you're learning. Everything after that, it's application. Once you get out of high school, you're applying. Because someone's saying you're of age now So, okay, so what we said, let's catch them right here at the fulcrum. So as they get ready to go in, we catch them, educate them, so that when they come out, they're managerial. And they have taken that 4-year span of time and have done 2 things. They've gotten hard skills, how to write, how to do this, how to do that, and the soft skills, how to interface with other people and not be offensive. You know about that, right? Because you know how they feel when you come through the door. They say, oh, Lord, look at all that stuff on his arm. I can't be talking to him. There? Oh, yeah, you know that. But, so, that is the reason we intercept at that point. Yes, we're going to go back this way, back down this avenue, because of the businesses that come to us, like yourself, like you. You teach at the elementary or the K through 12 level, do you not? So why not you and I work out, me communicate with you, you have my understanding, I have your understanding, so when you go back down to the classroom, part and parcel of what you're going to tell them is the insights that you've gained from our program. So as they come up, they're asking for it. I want to do this. I've heard about this. So creating the demand, what happens is, because they want, this can then go backwards. And way we would do that, we would do that through each of the individual businesses that come to us to create the demand at the K through 12 level. Does that make sense? So another way of saying it, we're franchising through you. It's a franchise model, right? I got all the curriculum. I hand it to you. You translate it, put it in. You say NPE. We partner with NPE. You're boom, boom. So essentially, it's a franchise.
I would also like James to give his opinion on, or his thoughts on this. He's an entrepreneur. He's also the owner of the Healing Hub, and he has a movement called Men to Health, raising awareness in African American men for mental health. He's awesome.
He is.
So I'd like to get your thoughts.
On which specifically?
About the program, or about, because it's larger than a program, we're talking about a movement here of community wealth building through storytelling. And you have an awesome story to tell personally and with what you're doing with mental health.
Correct. No, I think it's an awesome movement. I think it is also good that you guys are catching college students and giving them an opportunity along with letting them obtain that education. So that alone would be awesome. I mean, just thinking back to my freshman year, prior to college, like I was awarded a state foster care group home, and I emancipated myself at 16. So when I went to college, I was technically still homeless. So from that point, I joined the military and still did college, came back and all that. As far as entrepreneurship, I've just been fortunate to create my own. My motto, and something that I definitely live by, is, you know, if somebody can feed you, they can also starve you. So I definitely want to be in a position to always feed myself. So that's why I do what I do as far as entrepreneurship stuff. But as far as the movement that she's speaking of, and the Healing Hub is a collective of pretty much holistic practice, getting everything integrated into one's health correct. So it's services provided for us, given by us, which is myself, I'm a therapist, but we got mindfulness, we got meditation, we do different seminars on business, credit, forms, just pretty much anything that the community needs and lack. I want to make sure that I'm in a position to serve them. So I have different curators coming in and do different stuff if I don't do them myself. And that's pretty much it. So, and the movement that I wear now all the time is Men to Heal, which focuses on overall wellness for men. So whether that's physical health and mental health, just getting them open enough to express their emotions, feelings, and everything that the society stigma is that men shouldn't be. I try to re-educate them on what they should be and how they should, so that way we can be healthy for our families, friends, co-workers, peers, and stuff like that, opposed to bottling everything up and pretty much displaying it in an unhealthy way. So I can tell you how I'm feeling verbally, or I can just let everything build up, walk away, punch the wall, use a substance, something like that. So pretty much it's re-educating men, helping them understand like it's okay to express yourself in a healthy manner. So I've been fortunate. I'm also authoring a book now, and it will be in the editing phase next month, and then after that it will be out for the distribution.
And his healing hub is on Arthur Ashe Boulevard.
Correct.
What's the address?
916 North Arthur Ashe Boulevard, right beside Comcast.
And right in between Comcast and
And
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven, yep.
So you have to go, actually he's having an event there tomorrow with Roscoe Burnham Suzapore. He's doing Traumedy.
Yeah, so
and they'll have a mental health panel there.
and so Traumedy, he's actually telling his story of trauma in the form of comedy, which is an awesome event. And as far as entrepreneurship and business, I also own the Well Art Gallery as well as Burroughs Waffles, and I got several investments throughout the city, and also real estate or properties and stuff like that. So I definitely believe in creating your own and generational wealth. That's my family back there. So, once my time is up, they're in a position to walk right into it and continue the legacy.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Well,
And for want of a better way of describing it, we're all at the same point. The ones who are the younger of us are conscious of that. The ones that are in their 20s are conscious of that. The ones in the 30s are conscious of that. We're all moving to that point of recognition and realization that it is the economy's stupid. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm just coining the phrase. It's about ownership. It's about owning and monetizing what you own. And it's being pervasive. The difficulty is, or the challenge is we are unorganized $1.3 trillion, unorganized. Okay? Because a single blade of grass over here and a single blade of grass over here is not a lawn. That ain't a lawn. That's a blade of grass, Where you make value is when that one blade of grass is next to another blade of grass, next to another blade of grass, then it becomes a lawn. You know what you can do with a lawn? Lots of things. And so we've got to get out of this destructive process and collaborate. We've got to get out of this destructive process and collaborate. Collaboration doesn't mean ownership. Collaboration means that we define a common objective and we go there together. We each provide a service to the end result. It's not about ownership, it's about collaboration. Everybody individually owns, and you say, well, all right, we're going to buy a dozen eggs. I'm gonna get 60 cents from you, I'm gonna get 30 cents from you, and 40 cents from you, and 40 cents, and we're gonna get together. Now, there are 12 of us. Do we all get one egg, or do we make something larger and then we cut it in half and we say we're gonna split this and we're gonna sell that. So I get fed, I get some more money, because the more money allows me to invest to get fed again. Make sense? So we've got to collaborate to get to the destination that we all desire to go to. And we've got to stop destroying education and destroying wealth. We collaborate.
Thank you.
Turn it over to my boss.
Question I'd like to pose, and we're good to go. We would like your opinions about this project and how we can share, because now we have a story about this whole concept and movement we're trying to push out. What do you think would be the best way for us to share this narrative about what we're doing to the community? So like next time we can fill this room.
I mean, I think you guys should define who your audience is, like who you want.
Let me take this photograph this person.
All right. So, but how does the community know that? How do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I understand.
because at the end of the day,
At the end of the day, remember the word that I use, collaborate. So if you tell one tells one tells one. You have to be a collaborator. Everybody in this room has to be a collaborator. If nothing more than say, go to Ayana's page and look at her event schedule. Look at the activities that, and everything is on Ayana's event page, you put on your page. That's collaboration. And then what you do is you tell everybody in your network, go to my event page. See, we're stuck here. We know all the stuff you know. This is what we don't know. How? That's the thing we have to overcome, the how.
Anybody? James, did you want to finish your thought?
yeah.
Yeah.
I also think it's important for people to know why we should tell our own stories or create our own narratives. Because realistically, like, I may think I know about theater, but my man does theater. So naturally, you know more than, you can educate me on theater, the process, as well as different stories. But if I really think I know the answer, then I'm doing myself a disservice. So if we can create a way for him to say, okay, that's an excellent story, but this is also what was left out, you know, like you can help me bridge the gap between what I think I know and what the actual additional information is.
I think also that I'm so happy you went back to collaboration. I was going to ask you to talk more about that, because for me, that is fundamental ingredient in this process.
Speak up just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it is.
Yeah. But I think in terms of that also, what we need to do and what I find is very difficult, particularly in our communities, is to create what I call a frictionless atmosphere. Right? Because when we don't have that, it destroys our ability to collaborate. Right? Because what we're really talking about is creating a greater awareness for the need for this, right? And we can do that a lot of ways. You're a marketer, so, you know, again, brand is everything. And also to create a sense of community and participation. These are the things that lead to a movement. Right? Creating community and participation. Coupled with that also is identifying, as Ken was saying earlier, identifying people who can connect us to people who can connect. The essential, each one tell one. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
From my experience, even with this event and sending it to everybody on my Facebook page, all that, and notice they aren't here. And it's okay to assume that by saying, go to my page, they're going to do it, but when you tell people to do some work, from my experience, normally it doesn't work. Because you're giving a person a task. Go to Ayanna's page, go find this, go find it, go find. It's just like somebody called me, say go find. You're giving me work to do on top of what I have to do. So I find that when you make an explosive event, when you make an event that makes noise, when you push those beats, when you make the noise, you make your event that large where they got to see it. Or they look at it and say, I wish I had been there.
Right.
To me, it's about putting that work in to draw people. You can't draw a mouse with no food. You can't tell a mouse, go run, go get, go jump. But they give dogs little treat and incentives. So with me, it's the visualization. I want them to hear it before they see it. I want them to feel it before they get near it, to draw them in. That has to be a draw besides just saying, come to it. Like that old saying, build it and they will come. You know, it's old stories about cartoon characters that say, well, nobody's going to help me, let me build it. Then everybody wants to eat the pie. So I always believe in my hands on first. I build first. I put it together first to get an interest. Because they're not going to follow me if they don't see any content. I can talk all I want to, but I can't physically put this in effect. And it doesn't take much. They're making videos by telephones now. I mean, a little snippet, something to draw them in, besides me calling all the friends and saying, you know, come to my event, come to my event. There's an art show with some food at, people gonna come.
You right.
You know?
Top of the draw. Yeah. You have something you want to share? And we only have a few more minutes because we want to be timely. Did you want to share something?
Go ahead, don't be shy.
I know, it looked like you were thinking about something. No.
I think also getting back to something I said earlier, in addition to that, James, I think this is, strategically, we need to be selective with those that we get in touch with who can proliferate the idea,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? You can't go to every man on the street and say, you know, like you were saying earlier, go to my Facebook page. You need to go to somebody who has connections, bring that person into your loop,
Yeah.
and then use that person and people like that person to get the word out.
So they pay influencers
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Facebook.
I like that.
Yeah.
I just found it out.
Yeah.
All right? So what,
Influencers.
in the realm that I play in, I play in the realm called ADA, which is really marketing. And ADA is attention, interest, desire, action. And if I never learned anything else in all of marketing, that's the one thing I remember. ADA. Attention, in other words, awareness, interest, create the desire. Because once you're interested, now you got to give them the want it, and then action. Okay? So to answer, not to answer, but to give your, all that what you're saying is absolutely, without a doubt, most important. But it's right now, there's 6 people in this room. What are we willing to do to advance? and kind of, do we have the list of dates?
Oh, no.
Okay. What we will do is as follows. As a follow-up to this, did everybody go to Eventbrite?
Right, yes.
And
And I have
provided an email address? We will send you 2 pieces. This, and then a summary handout of action steps that we'd like you to participate in. And then we'll shove it out to you, and then you decide, you know, because eventually it's going to be whatever, go to a blog list or something so that we can communicate with you on a consistent basis, and we'll proliferate. But we've done some thinking about this. I know Ayanna's done a lot more thinking about it than I have, about how we can answer the how question. Now, you see we are documenting. We may turn this into a webinar. And we may say to you, would you let everybody know that there's a webinar that's going on X day? Have them tune in. Or you need in your case, I need a flyer, or I need an event. Now, we have an event schedule.
He's saying he needs something that's gonna
Draw people.
draw him. And, you know, I'm a person, I gotta have some fun in the mix. I don't wanna just come and talk about serious things, so I need something that's gonna uplift me too, yes.
How about an example of actually, you know, what is the outcome? So if we had like, if we create narrative, we telling stories like Sir James story, that'll be an interesting story for Richmond. So if you guys did a narrative and let Sir James tell his story beginning to end, why I do the murals, why I wanted to do it in Richmond, why, you know, whatever. And now everybody's putting it together, it's documented, and you guys launched that. And these tons of people seeing Sir James' story, or my man right here's story, or my story, they're knowing what it is, and they're looking, this is the outcome, this is what I gotta look forward to. This is a series that's coming. This is, you know, you do a story on Altria, you do a story on Nike or whatever, but now I see, oh, this is why they're doing that. Oh, they got college students doing this?
That's right.
You know,
That's dope, yes, yes.
And
So
so
then-
then you put people, like the interest.
that they know,
Yeah,
yeah.
that they
Because
know.
like you said, it's different people riding through the city seeing your murals, but if they,
And they see your work too.
yeah, and if they knew why you started doing your murals, why you chose to do it in Richmond and not run to the other side, you know,
Yeah.
that's important. So if I can see a finished product, I can buy into it. Right now, it's
Right.
still an idea,
Right,
you know.
right.
But now, if you sell it on the narrative of, we in Virginia State right now, we planning to do several other HBCUs, we doing this and doing that. We helping the college students not only stay in school, but fund their education, blah, blah, blah. A lot more people are buying to it in addition to the narrative of these curators and activists in the community, or whatever you want to call them.
Well then, can I ask one thing of them? Would you just say in a single paragraph, this is my story, your story, your story, your story, your story, and then it'll come to us, and then we can in turn get back in touch with you and say, okay, we'd like to do your story. We'd like to put it into whatever it is, because that's, in a more formalized way, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to see more people to write their stories. The more stories that are written, then the more content that can be produced and disseminated to ourselves. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have a channel called Richmond, and all the stories of Richmond would come out and be available as YouTube, VCast? Don't you write that down, because I'm gonna tell.
We gotta wrap up,
Yes.
gotcha.
So,
Yes. Yeah, oh, now she.
now she got
I
it.
just said tribute, because I was feeling the same way you were. We're just in an idea, and I don't hear or conceive a framework for its importance for even my career path, because I was a college student. How's that gonna fit into my development of the next steps after I graduate?
You mean going into this program?
Yes, if it's for college students, I believe it should be presenting a framework towards their educational path.
It is, and it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's college students who are interested in this field, so we're not just grabbing.
But I think it needs to be said, it's just.
If you try-
Oh, I see, tell the framework,
Yeah, it needs
that,
to be-
oh, we do have that framework, we
Okay.
just didn't share it.
Turn around for a second.
Today.
And make that young man right there talk. Make him talk.
Okay, because then you're the missing piece to our conversation.
Yes.
So what's your major? I
How's
guess
that
it's her-
contributing to
Yeah.
your life?
Right now, I'm not currently at Virginia State, but when I was at Virginia State, I was majoring in mass communication. And when I was in the program, it did help me a lot on the business side and more interacting with people and learning how an actual production set works. So it's good that they're reaching out to a lot of college students and a lot of college students should be interested in it more, just based upon the education value we give.
See, he doesn't like to talk. He was in the pilot. That's right. He was in the pilot.
Okay, yeah.
Right. He was in the pilot, and he went through the program, and he encountered some challenges, life challenges, that took him out of the program. But you see where he's at. He's trying to continue his process. So please, please, tell them a little bit more about your story.
About what I do?
About you.
I'm a videographer, filmmaker, and I'm a published photographer. Currently, I have a short film out, and my main goal and what I'm working on now is owning my own production company in film and videography. So that's what I'm pushing towards, is really entrepreneurship, owning my own business, and just creating a lot of assets of wealth that I could attain and invest in. So other than filmmaking and being an entrepreneur, like it's a lot of stuff that I want to dive into as far as, like marketing and real estate. Like I want to be basically everything. Well, that's what I'm trying to be. Everything that I could do.
But you sound like him.
That's what I just said. I said, y'all should.
You sound like him, and you sound like him, and you sound like the person that's next to you. So if you collaborate, if you collaborate, then you are.
We need a, we got to go.
Well, we have it until 4.
I told them till 3.
That's fine.
We're going.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. Do I have your contact information?
No, I don't
I have everybody else.
I really want to
I have paper if y'all want to exchange, or y'all usually have